Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. The first item on our agenda is to approve minutes of our September the 6th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer, and seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. We are ready for our investment report, and our county trustee, Mr. Beatty, is joining us this evening. Good evening, Mr. Beatty.
Good evening. Thank you. We had one bid, 0.35, which is twice as LGIP, which is 0.14. For 6 months, we only had 2 institutions bid. So that's kind of the news.
Do we say Yahoo or could it be better?
Since our last meeting, the Fed has talked about this zero lower balance through mid-2015. And when we first started, it was, a few months, and we thought mid this year, and now they're talking about those lower rates, and they're buying $40 billion a month in mortgage-backed securities without an end to that, which will drive our rates down. So this is the environment I think we're in for a little while.
With all your knowledge on it, did the U.S. get its bond rating downgraded again by somebody?
No, not that I know. I mean, there was some discussion of that, but I don't believe that's happened. It seems like the news is mostly about Europe, Spain and Italy and those things. It's kind of interesting to watch the markets. There's some good news overnight out of Europe, and the markets all go up. And 2 days later, some bad news out of Europe, and they all go back down again.
It's a reverse of the first one, is what it is.
That seems to be the case.
Move approve report. Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
So you're popular this week after all the tax bills went out last week.
Yes, yes, I felt the love.
Gentlemen, our fund condition report, and our finance director will begin with the development tax.
In September, we received $107,250. That brings our total for the year after one refund to $385,500, and that we're higher than we were in 9/10 at this point. I thought that was good.
Well, give us a chance to look now.
Okay.
Take some of us a little bit of time to get
I
out of the
had
other
mine
screen
ready.
and back in.
I was ready.
One time I had it flipped over and widened up where I can see the numbers.
Yeah.
Y'all just tell me when you're ready.
Might be a day or two with it.
So we're the highest we've been in the last 4 years, counting this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yes.
Could we meet our goal next month?
That would be.
$1 million is our
Well,
budget.
Yeah, $1 million is the budget.
Oh, you haven't taken the 500,000 out of?
No, this is in total
This
coming
is
in.
total,
So, we estimated $1 million. So this is before the split.
Okay.
Gentlemen, are we ready to move to cash balances? Okay, let's please look at cash balances.
Okay. Our ending cash balance at the end of September was $152,501,000, with $121,712,000 being operating funds, $30,789,000 being borrowed funds. Now, some of that difference we were looking at before we came in is, if you look at the debt service, last year it was $12,000,007, but at that point we had borrowed $15 million from that fund to go into the help from Stewart's Creek before we did the bond.
The Eagleville addition is done, I understand, but the bills are not
They're
totally.
still lagging.
So we give that another 6 months, or what do we? What's
Probably
kind of the?
Probably about,
Something like
once
that.
it opens in 6 months later, at least 6 months.
They're still wrapping up some of it on that. I mean, they went ahead and put the kids in there, but they're still wrapping up some of the non-classroom
I don't think it was
spaces, that's all.
100% complete.
I talked to Mr. Clardy, there'll be another change order. We will probably have some more equipment type issues being resolved too.
Okay, gentlemen, if you remember, our finance director always gives us a revenue review, and that will be in two parts. If you will find Part A,
And
that's mostly the general fund and the ambulance especially.
And there's two things that I want to bring to your attention on this one. The first one, a little lightning thing. You see that in local taxes in the general fund, we received 7,151,000 compared to last period, last fiscal year at this time was 2.2. That is because we received the Nissan payment, the pilot agreement that came in at the end of September. If you kind of scan across that line, you can easily see which years that came in and which years it didn't come in until October. The other item of note, and it's going to mess up my spreadsheet for several years, is the ambulance fund. If you look at, it had a star by it last time, and this time it has this triangle. There was an audit adjustment. Typically on our books, we reflect the revenue as it comes in, and the auditors make the accrual on their work papers that make it into the audit. They've decided this year they want to go ahead and us book that adjustment to reflect the June revenues being in the prior period. So anyway, for 1 year it's going to mess up my books for comparative use, but it will make my books more reflect what the audit will have. Or the audit will reflect what my books have, I guess. If you go back to that's the two items.
Okay, if you're ready to move on to Part B, which will be the solid waste, sanitation, road and bridge, and general purpose school,
Yeah.
drug control, and debt service.
When does the Nissan thing come up again? 16,
2020.
2020.
It ends at 2020. And then there's a new one.
Yeah. For the
There's a
battery
separate one
plant,
for the
right?
battery plant.
Okay. And that goes through, it's another,
20, 40, 30 years.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
No,
but
it's
that's
not
just the
30,
battery
it's
part, right?
20 maybe.
And the other
that's
is
just that
finished?
part.
It's just that part. This one ends at 2020.
They'll be coming around about 2017 to renegotiate.
Okay, so the items that are, as far as comparing where we are this year to the prior years, the ones that are ahead, solid waste fund and the road and bridge and the drug fund. But that's only because they had some forfeitures early in the year, pushed them ahead.
Gentlemen, and the next is the statement of operations.
Wait a minute, just a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Why is this solid waste and sanitation in so far ahead? I'm seeing, that their numbers are up a lot more. But why this year is it higher than?
Okay, just what this tells you. Well, we have 182,000. Just looking at that, it's 182 in
I mean, it's
local
up.
taxes. That's primarily the sales tax, which is good. And then the second line, total charges for services. That's two revenue items, and that's the tipping fees and what we get from the host agency fees. And what this is saying, when I look at this and I say, well, we've got 300, so we are up more than we were last year by about $40,000. But also what it's telling me is that in all these other years, I'm at anywhere 14, 16% of budget, but right now I'm at 24. That tells me I'm ahead of what my budgeted numbers are.
And it's because of the sales tax and tipping
Well,
fees. So
and
far.
tipping fees too. And it could be, what it's telling you is that my budget numbers, might not have been
Accurate.
high, it should be higher.
We budget conservatively on revenue.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, let's move please to a statement of operations.
Okay, so this is where we start. This, under this presentation, we start with our unaudited balances, take in consideration our prior year encumbrance that's been paid, and then what our revenue and appropriations are, trying to account for what our restricted, committed, and assigned balances are, coming up with our estimated unassigned. You will see later on some of our amendments, we reflect a higher number rather than the 13.5, because and that is because during the year we do make some changes and close out, and so that number gets boosted up a little. This is just one basis of looking at what our fund balance is, and it does show you even on this presentation that we are ahead of our requirement.
Motion to approve the report.
Yeah, second.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Any further discussion or questions for Mrs. Nolan? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we are ready for our risk management report from Mrs. Stinson. And Mrs. Stinson, to sort of give us a little extra time to make sure that we can
Sure.
see all your numbers, Fund 264.
Okay. We all ready?
I hope so.
You refer to Fund 264. We're seeing an improvement in the report over what we've seen the last 2 months, and that is primarily due to the payroll that we receive from Board of Education. Our first premium collections beginning at the new school year occur in September, so that's some of the reason why you see such an adjustment occurring this month. For the month of September, on our claims, we are at $688.83 per employee per month. When we combine our September experience for the on-site medical as well, we go to $709.99. That compares to the prior year. In September, for our medical claims, we were averaging $817.46 per employee per month, and with the medical, we were at $835.21. What we are currently seeing, comparing our current year-to-date average of $856 compared to $892.74 on our medical claims, we're seeing a decline. As well as when we combine our on-site medical, you see that we shift from, or we are actually at $884.97. with the year-to-date average being at $914.97. Overall, we are seeing a 3.3% decline on our year-to-date based on our trend. So it's much better than the 20% we had seen the 2 prior months.
If we're ready, let's move to Fund 266.
On Fund 266, we're actually running higher whenever we look at the September experience. We're at $243,485.27 compared to same time as prior year. We're at $155,428.25. So our claims are up. We have had at least one large claim this fiscal year to date that I'm aware of where we had to pay out on an ongoing medical situation. So that's part of our overall cost as well that's built into there.
Motion to approve, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Bond. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Commissioner Sheffield.
Just one quick, what is an ongoing medical condition? Would that be like cancer or something like that, or heart disease or something?
Correct, like a heart disease or something like that with a condition. As part of our settlement, we provided, under workers' comp, we provided lifetime medical. So that would be the ongoing medical. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for the general fund budget amendments. And I am not coming up with archives.
First one.
Okay. There we go. We have a budget amendment from Mr. Lodell. I do not see him in the
I can do
audience.
this one, yes.
Mrs. Nolan?
Yes, he had a copier that died, and the only place that he had money in was his office equipment, his furniture and fixtures. Yes, that was to be for shelving, and so he's having to take $3,000 from that to buy his copier.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Sandlin, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. A budget amendment request from General Sessions Court. Mrs. Nolan?
Yes, ma'am. This Government Services Automation, GSA, has performed an audit of their invoices and receipts and found that Rutherford County in this department did not pay 2 bills from 9/10, each of them costing $1,400. When Elaine looked back, there was $2,800 left over in the data processing service account at the end of 9/10 that rolled into fund balance. And so this is a request to pull that back and pay those bills from 9/10.
Motion to approve. I think we have any choice to.
We owe it.
Commissioner Jordan, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Baum. Discussion?
Governmental Service Automation has revealed.
That's
GSA.
GSA.
That's the supplier of our software services.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. We have a budget amendment request from Fire and Rescue. Mr. Farley?
Requesting approval of the following budget amendment to correct the amount carried over from the 2011-2012 budget for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant to the 2012 to 2013 budget. It's $85 from unassigned fund balance to other equipment.
Yeah.
Now, don't laugh because, we're accountants and we want it
Yeah,
to
that's
agree
right.
with our records and with our grants.
I know you haven't been getting a moment's sleep. Make a motion to approve just to ease your mind real quick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin. And seconded by Commissioner Jordan.
We have said we're not going to go into unassigned fund balance this year, so this may be the place to draw the line, right?
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
And Larry says you have to start with me, don't you?
$4,825 is actually what the assistance to firefighters grant
That
was?
piece of a grant that carries forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I just was wondering if you're pulling the wool over our eyes for $85, the way things were going there.
Okay, County Mayor and Mr. Farley, if you'll deal with the budget request for the reconstruction of the station on
3.
Elam Road.
Yeah, Station 3 is.
Station 3, not
Mhm.
Station 4?
Yes, ma'am, it's a
Okay,
typo.
we'll make that correction.
Well, this is, we've discussed this with the property management group, and this is how many dollars we need for engineering architectural services so that we can put in place plans and specs before we can take bids on the reconstruction of this fire that occurred out there in that particular building. And so this, we've chosen to try to not use unassigned fund balance. We're using the engineering line item that's in the mayor's budget and $7,000 in other charges in the mayor's budget to make this happen.
And gentlemen, we will need to have a motion for this, but we also will need to authorize the mayor to execute the contract. If you'll go back to your main menu and go down to item number 10 on our agenda, that is the agreement if you'd like to take a look at it.
This is a test to
It's a
see if
sta-
you can navigate back.
It's a standard form
But to
agreement
just let
that.
you know, that is the
AIA
agreement that we
agreement
will
with
need
it.
to authorize the mayor to sign.
So we're gonna go ahead and deal with
Number 10.
Number 10
Number
at the same
10,
time.
Yeah,
yes.
that just shows you that agreement between the owner and architect that we will execute for a price not to exceed $17,000.
Move to approve, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders.
For both.
For both the contract and to authorize the mayor. Thank you. Commissioner Sandlin, was that seconded by Commissioner Jernigan? Any further discussion? I'll call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This is not gonna cost more than what our insurance deductible
Yes, the
is.
deductible's $100,000. It's gonna cost a little more than $100,000. We won't know until we take these bids up.
Gentlemen, we're ready for the budget amendment request from the sheriff, but the finance
Actually-
director is really taking this one.
Yeah, it's really the request is coming from the finance department and HR department. There were changes in personnel at the sheriff's department, which caused the HR director to go back and look at the salaries and found 11 more positions within the lieutenant. It just is all focused in this one line item. But hopefully this does clean us up for the year. And so we need to increase for lieutenant $17,643 in related benefits in the sheriff's side and $10,560 in the jail side.
So at $27,000 is scattered between 11 people.
Yes.
It was in the application, of that adjustment formula we had for everybody that was used, and just an oversight in this.
So they're not adjusted and readjusted. These haven't been
These
adjusted.
have not been
They were not
adjusted.
adjusted properly.
We thought we adjusted them
Yes, we
at
did.
budget time, but we just
I kind of figured
missed it.
This-
have a couple,
Well, we had a few,
that we-
already- one
We
or
had
two
a
or three
few.
already scattered
Yeah.
about, but these showed up again.
So moved.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Further discussion?
This is the end?
Commissioner Schaefer?
Well, we wouldn't promise
You
that.
think?
I'm
We
not going to
hope
promise
so.
that.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Sandy? The Education Capital Projects Fund Budget Amendment. Good evening, Mr. Sandy.
Good evening, Madam Chairman.
He's gone from a book of Sudoku to a computer.
I may have gone too long. I may just read off the mayor's.
Go right ahead, sir.
Commissioner Sandy, while you're going, you notice that we have two items here. The first one is in Word form,
Right.
and the second one is in the amendment form that we're
The
used to.
PDF. Yes, ma'am. All right. This is just a routine capital projects fund budget amendment for us. At the end of each fiscal year, all of our outstanding purchase orders are liquidated. Since this fund is funded by property tax money, and each year we bring forward an amendment to rebudget the amount of those closed out purchase orders so we can finish the projects and take it out of committed for capital projects in that fund. This year's amendment is $55,196, which completes the plumbing and the other associated work for the campus school renovation Phase 2 at long last. And our recommended motion is to amend $55,196 from account 34,685 committed for capital projects to 91,335 maintenance and repair services buildings as presented.
Does that finally finish everything?
That finally finishes everything.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Discussion or questions for Mr. Sandy? Oh, you didn't, I thought you were getting ready to say something,
No.
Mr. Sandy, but you just
It
found it.
popped up for a second, and then it went away.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Special Purpose DEA Fund Budget Amendment.
This is from the revenues that they received in September of $5,041.40, and they request that it go to new vehicles. $5,041.40 into account 718.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Baum. Discussion?
Do they have to put this in an account right away? Or is there an account they can put it in
Yes.
till more and more comes in and?
Well, we've done this process because this is the fund that you can't budget until you actually get the money.
Yeah.
And so the process that we've done to at least get it in for them and not make them wait forever is they pretty much have a plan that when the money comes in, then to bring it to y'all to say this is where they'd like
It
to
comes
have
in
it.
off and on throughout the year.
But I'm sure they have a plan to spend it, and they're just waiting for it to come. But they can't budget it until they get it.
Yeah. Well, I was asking if they had a fund where they could put it into without it going for a specific purpose. I guess though that later on, if they want to use it for
Occasionally,
something else, they can switch it
They
out
can,
this.
they
out
change
here.
it. And occasionally, last year, they had a couple of times that they did come in and just have it go to fund balance.
That's within the DEA fund.
Right.
But it has to stay within the DEA
It stays
fund.
there, yeah. But that's what, they have done that in the past, is just put it into fund balance until they knew where it was gonna go.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Mrs. Snyder. Good evening. If you'll join us, please. Mrs. Snyder is asking us to consider a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the drug court.
Correct. And I sent you that one earlier. Email.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What would you like to know?
You can just tell them about the thing and what it's gonna be used for.
Okay. Well, this is a grant that I apply for every year, and the last couple of years, they keep telling me that they're not gonna renew me, and they keep renewing me. And I really didn't think they were gonna renew me this year, so I went for it. I went for $29,667 instead of $20,000, and I got it, so.
Ask and you shall receive.
That's exactly
Sometimes.
right. So this was a surprise, a very pleasant surprise. It will go towards Kay Haskell's salary, who is our DUI therapist. And she's the one that's part-time, and we just increased her pay from $16 an hour to $20 an hour, this starting July 1.
So this grant, it's not a match or anything,
Nope.
this is pure grant.
Pure money.
I like that.
I like it too.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sandlin, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussions or questions
Did we
from Mrs.
increase her
Snyder?
salary because of this grant, or did her salary get increased before the grant?
We had no idea we were getting this, so.
Because I hate to increase somebody's salary because of the grant.
No.
No,
and
no.
next year the grant go away, but that's
Sorry.
not the case, okay.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is recommendation for funding for the MTSU Science Building. And gentlemen, this recommendation comes to us from the Health and Ed Committee. They did recommend funding for this project in the amount of $100,000 for a period of 1 year. They did not specify the funding mechanism, so I will ask our finance director to give us two options. starting with the unassigned fund balance and then looking at development tax. And that is the challenge that this committee will need to consider tonight.
Okay, the first one under unassigned fund balance, what I'm trying to present to you here is what our ending fund balance would be funding this $100,000 and compare it to the requirement of maintaining 15%. And so you can see 14.9 and our requirement is 11.6 million. So if you took it out of unassigned fund balance, we'd still be within that policy. Under restricted from capital for development tax, again, you know, we've estimated $1 million in development tax, half of it which would go for capital, the other half goes for debt service. If we received more, of course your ending balance would be better than this, but with just our budgeted projections, after this request it would show 1.1 million. So I guess for me, it is an appropriate expenditure out of development tax. It's appropriate out of this too, since it's a one-time thing and you're still within your policy.
A couple of comments, and then I just want to see what we're here about. The project itself is already underway, correct, over at MTSU?
Yes.
So they're asking for I don't really know if they're asking or not, but
Yeah, they've made an official request.
they have made an official request. What was the official request?
$1 million.
$1 million over
Over as much as 5 years.
Okay. Well, a lot of positives, not too many negatives on this issue, because we're all Rutherford County, and we, you know, as far as the educational process and what it does to our community is just an endless amount of results that come from there. But I don't know if any other cities have they been asked to? Are they participating?
We don't know.
Murfreesboro.
They have requested the same amount of money from Murfreesboro. The paper has reported that the city manager is making a recommendation to pay that over 3 years. They haven't officially done it yet, but that's working through the process just like this is.
I see. So the health and education, it went from I guess the $1 million request to a $100,000 request, or this was looking at it through a period of 5 years instead of just a one lump sum.
Being on Health Net, we had a lot of discussion. Of course, everybody on the committee supports MTSU. There was discussion about whether we could commit future commissions for indebtedness or to make a payment, because there's an election in a couple of years. There'd be a couple of payments after that. The motion came out of Health Net. I actually made the motion, I believe, to do 100 this year and then look at it the next year, and hopefully look at it every year over the next 5 years. You know, next year we might be able to do 200. We might be able to do 50. We don't know. We don't know where we'll be then. But there was a split vote, you know, with Health Net. There was some people didn't want to give any. Some people want to give 200. Some people want to give 100. So what we came out with was a compromise. And personally, I can support this. As I said, in Health Net, the amount of impact MTSU has on Rutherford County is, you can't calculate. I mean, it's huge. And so.
Well, there was quite a debate on the campus school issue, and we just finished up that second phase of that here just a few minutes ago, and our participation with helping do that. And of course, there's a lot of our teachers come out of that realm over there, you know, and so it's keeping everybody at home, you know, or keeping them in our county, because we're still building schools, we still need teachers, and there's still kids need to be taught.
We got 40,000 students that need the benefit of science and math and technology.
Commissioner Baum.
Commissioner Ely, I just wanted to disclose that I am an MTSU employee in the College of Business, but I'd like to declare that my argument and my conscience are answerable to my constituents and to the citizens that I represent. I supported Mottlow's capital project earlier this year in 2012. So I think I'm being consistent if I support MTSU's project now, but I would like to make just a few remarks about that. I've thought some about it. First, I can see how this project will create jobs. Certainly it'll create construction jobs to build the structure. Once the building is complete, there will be some jobs associated with staffing it and maintaining the building. Students who are trained in this building are going to enhance the quality of our labor force as employers move to the area to find workers who are trained in sciences. I think these are likely to be some of the higher paying jobs. I was in an interesting meeting with Paul Latour at the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce recently, where he said that he actually believes that there are employers looking to fill about the same number of jobs in Rutherford County as there are people looking for work, and yet we still have unemployment, and he attributes this at least partially to a skills mismatch. I guess the second point I wanted to make is about 8,000 of MTSU students are from Rutherford County. So this building will benefit our residents. And I would 8,000 is about 30% of the student body. I would expect about that many students to stay in Rutherford County after the building is complete. I think this is important because some of these students are going to be trained to be teachers in science, and the ones that stay in our county can be our science teachers in our K through 12 school system. Another comment I wanted to make is I think MTSU's been a good neighbor, providing facilities for things like TSSAA, which generates revenue for our businesses in Rutherford County. MTSU's helped us with some of our GPS mapping projects. They've conducted economic impact studies, which have helped the county. Now, having said all this, I think it's the state's responsibility to fund higher education. And I think they should fully fund this project, but they're not. MTSU has asked the city for $1 million, and they've asked the county for $1 million. Health and Ed is recommending at this time $100,000. And I think that's reasonable, particularly in light of the fact that the building is going to be a $147 million building. Since I'm wanting to support this recommendation from Health and Ed, I guess I also have a suggestion on where to fund it, or what my first choice would be on where to fund it. I think we should consider taking this money out of our restricted account for capital projects, because funding long-term capital development projects that are designed to enhance the county's development is exactly what that fund is for. At the moment, the fund has $1.2 million in it, and I should say it had $1.2 million in it at the end of the meeting, at the end of our budget meeting last month. We've just learned since then that its balance has gone up by $107,000. Money that's in this restricted account can't be used to hire county employees. It can't be used to purchase gasoline for our vehicles. It can't be used to raise the wages of our employees. So in a sense, if we were to fund this donation out of our development tax fund, it wouldn't be directly competing with these other county expenditures. I think with our money in the development fund, we ought to support the best capital projects in our community. And I certainly think that this project is a good capital project.
Commissioner Schaefer, go ahead.
I echo Commissioner Baum's comments. The meeting he referred to, I've also attended, and I'd like to add a couple thoughts. One is there's a company in town called Oflex that's out near the 24 in Salem Highway, and they had somewhere between 50 and 75 jobs they were going to put here, but they couldn't find people that were qualified to fill them, and it went to one of their other plants somewhere else. And I think that I'm going to go a little further, and maybe this gets close to home, but I know 4 people in my family, very immediate family, that have gotten degrees. One was an advanced degree. I thought when I was in my younger days that I could use another master's, and so I started working on one too and said, wait a minute here, there's got to be more to life than school. But from that standpoint, my 3 children happen to be all doing well, good. My wife's an English major, I don't know. But anyhow, what I'm saying is they're doing very well in the private industry, and they've got their degrees from MTSU, and they fit in the degrees they got them started. So I have to go along with this also. Plus, we did agree late last fiscal year to give Motlow $100,000 for each of 2 years to help them out. So I think this is the least we can do. And MTSU has overall been a very good partner. They've given us a lot of interns that we can use, that we've used with the engineering department, and also in a lot of our different offices around at times that we needed them in this. So.
Dr. McPhee is in the audience this evening, and I would ask you to join us, sir.
Thank you.
And if you would like to make any comments to the committee.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission Budget Committee. Thank you for your consideration of this request. I want you to know that all 25,000 plus students plus 2,500 employees would appreciate your consideration. Commissioner Sandlin, you raised a very good question, and I wanted to speak just briefly to that about the city's commitment with regards to this project. I've had personal conversations with both the mayor, Mayor Bragg, and every member of the city council regarding our request for the $1 million. And I've gotten very firm commitment from the mayor and the city council members that indeed they will be making that commitment over a multi-year period. There was some discussion among the council members whether or not it should be taken from the capital budget or the regular budget, and I was told that the decision was made that it will come through their regular budgeting process. But I want to make sure that this committee knows that the city has made that commitment to me as president of the university, and they are solidly behind that request for the $1 million to support the science building.
What's the time frame on breaking ground? I mean, so much money you have to have before. What's the state's commitment, I guess, and stuff like that? We're getting maybe just a little way, but I'm
No, that's
curious.
a good question. It's an appropriate question. In fact, we have broken ground already. We broke ground in April, and construction has begun.
Okay.
The project will take about 2.5 years. It's a major project. It's going to be one of the finest science academic facility, really no exaggeration, in the country, and it will allow us to recruit even more high ability students to the campus. Just last week, Tuesday, I was telling Mayor Burgess, I was in Knoxville for our regular annual recruiting session. We spent one night in Johnson City and had a record crowd right next to ETSU. And the next night we were at the Museum of Art in Knoxville and had over 200 students and their parents. And we had on display a model of new science building. And I can't tell you the interest that was expressed and the excitement as we go across the state. Next, actually on Monday, we will be in Nashville. This past Tuesday, we were in Chattanooga. And in 2 weeks, we'll be in Memphis, and we're taking on the road show a model of that science building to let Tennessee's best and brightest know that they can come to Murfreesboro and get a high-quality education, particularly in the sciences. And the chances are, based on our statistics, 80% or more, actually it's 87% of the students who complete their degree at MTSU stay within the region. So it's a major economic force for the area.
Jim, I will call attention after the information from our finance director on using the development tax or using unassigned. You do have some information from the Health and Ed Committee about the science facility. So if you'd like to locate that on your iPad.
Mr. Baum was, if I understood him correctly, was talking about not the development tax.
No, he
I
is.
was
That is
recommending the
development.
development
That's
tax.
a new
And again,
name.
my rationale is the development tax money is restricted for capital projects, long-term capital projects that enhance the county's development, just like this one.
I noticed on both of these, on unassigned fund, it says fund balance restricted for capital.
Mhm.
That's-
Did I mess up?
That's not exactly so.
Hold
is it?
on.
Well, then, yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was
look,
noticing.
right
And the
here,
second one was the,
unassigned is restricted for
Mhm.
capital. Unassigned is not restricted for capital.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
That's why I was pointing
yeah,
pointing
that
at
was
a.
throwing me off a
I
little
was,
bit.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
that's a mess up, you know.
Make sure you look at the
There.
development tax.
Okay.
That's the one I was looking at.
Commissioner Jernigan.
The question I wanted to hear was from the
Oh, yeah.
finance director. I've heard from this side what the finance director recommended we take it from.
I mean, for me, either place,
Well,
either place. I mean,
you don't have, it
I-
don't matter to you.
it does not matter to me.
but clear and simple, we are committing
You're-
here and then to the full commission, $100,000.
That's right.
If we do any more, then it's gonna be next year's decision or the next year's decision as far as what we do, any more or not.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Unless
But you
someone
need to have,
wants
your
it.
motion needs to include therein where we take the funds from, okay?
I'll make that motion. I'll make the motion that we give $100,000 this year, to MTSU, for construction of the science building to come from the development tax. And to look at it again next year to consider next year's contribution.
I'll second.
We do have a motion and a second. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and
Thank you,
gentlemen.
sir.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Gentlemen, we've already taken care of number 10. That was the agreement about the Elam Fire Station. Number 3, is that what we decided on number 3? So that has already been taken care of. Is there any other business?
Not according to this thing.
Okay, if there is no other business, we are adjourned.